Hey guys, what's up? Welcome into a rare Friday occurrence where we're listening to a soundtrack instead of doing a Patreon live stream. Happy Friday. It's because we caught up with all of our list for July. So, yeah, let me popping in. Hey guys, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing really well. Happy Friday, happy Friday. It is the beginning of the weekend. So, what better way to celebrate the weekend than by listening to part one of a Fire Emblem Fates OST listen to start off the week, which is very exciting. And that's what we're doing today. So, hope everyone's doing really well. Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hi, Floofy. Hi, Purple. What? Purple. Yoshi. Hi, Yoshi. Quazentro, how are you? What's up? Yeah, so we're just doing selections from, and today is going to be mostly battle themes. Yeah, I also have to say I'm not very good at hey Hylian, what's up? Did you see Super Mario Sunshine's coming to the Switch for the Nintendo Online? Really excited. I kind of want to shift my schedule a little bit so I can play it. Comes out the 13th. You don't like Sunshine? Me neither, but I've never played it, so I guess I can't say if I like it or not. My Nintendo year continues, it's true. We'll probably round out the year with Super Mario Galaxy 2. What's up, Muffin? How are you? Croast, how you doing? Fates OST is so good. I've only heard selections from, so I don't know what to expect. But I'm really excited to get into it. Shout out to Hydro for this. Fates is your favorite game ever? Ooh. I've been loving Splatoon so much. Splatoon Raiders. It may very well be my second game of the year. I'm really excited to listen to it. So today we're mostly prioritizing battle themes. So this is part one of part two. We'll get the second part in August. Of course, just to give you some background, composers are Hiroki Morishita and Takeru Kanazaki. Fire Emblem Fates is the first entry in the series to be released in more than one distinct retail version simultaneously, each featuring its own title. The story of each version is identical until a pivotal moment in Chapter 6, at which point the narrative diverges and the story completely changes. Two of these routes were the primary retail versions, and those that bought one version could separately purchase the other as downloadable content. The third route was only available physically through a limited special edition. Ugh, that sounds horrible. Or as downloadable content for the other versions. Okay. These stories include Birthright, Conquest, and Revelation. The story paths are similar to Three Houses with different endings depending on which path you choose, thus having to play Fire Emblem Fates 3 times to fully grasp the full game and its story paths. Not my favorite mechanic, but okay. Fire Emblem Fates was first revealed in the January 2015 Nintendo Direct and was released in Japan on June 25th, 2015. It's developed by the same team that created the previous title, Fire Emblem Awakening, and Yusuke Kozaki designed the characters of the game as well. The singing voices for Fire Emblem Fates are Reina Strober, Renka, and Matthew Mercer, of all people. So the story summary goes, thousands of years ago, a great war between the first dragons took place, causing great destruction. One dragon decided to involve humans in the conflict, forging 4 legendary weapons and an additional 5th weapon for them that ended the war. But introduced conflict sounds just like freaking fate. In the present, 2 nations were founded from 2 other dragons that rebelled against their kin. To the west and the Dark Kingdom of Nor, a harsh realm of darkness and brimstone founded from the Dusk Dragon. It is currently led by King Garen, with his eldest son Xander as crown prince. Xander, a member of Organization 13, of course. To the east is the Light Kingdom of Hoshido, a prosperous realm of light and nature founded from the Dawn Dragon. It is currently led by Queen Mikoto, with her stepson Ryoma as crown prince. The main protagonist in this game is Korin, born in Hoshido but raised in Nor. Korin is then torn between deciding a fate: defending Hoshido, fighting with Nor, or refusing to choose a side. What makes Fate special is it brings back 3 characters from Awakening as playable characters. These characters now have a new name and appearance, but they still remember what happened in Awakening regarding what happened with Grima. These characters have supports levels with one another and mention their experiences in Awakening. Why? I might as well just keep... Okay. The second track is the opening visual, which we'll watch. Part 1 OST is mostly battle themes, and Part 2 will be everything else from endgame themes, support themes, and end credit themes. I'll be focusing on 3 tracks as a priority for like a sort of in-depth sort of chatter. The rest will be mostly vibing and whatever comes to mind. Today we're listening to 33 tracks, and this will roughly be about an hour and a half of music with probably some commentary from me, so more like 2 hours. So strap in. And let's have a time. Hold on one tiny second just to make sure I have everything set up. Oh, yeah, we're good. Okay. Cool. I hope you guys are doing really well. Happy Friday. I've been summoning you lately. Oh, thank you, Lugia. 1 year and 6 months. Wow. Hey, Roddy, how are you? What's up, guys? Velric, what's up? Gradients, how are you? We call it Fate's Landia. That's funny, Joe.
We know about Lord Crom. What about Lord Marco?
Hey, Zilla, hi. And I love your videos, and I love the channel, and I support you no matter what. I'm so proud of you, and keep up the hard work. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will forever stand by Alight being one of the best tracks in all of Fire Emblem. Well, let's find out, shall we? Also, peep out my amazing... Cocorico village hat with the cuckoo on the right and the link over here. I love this hat. All right. Let me strap in. I have a busy day today, finishing up Cowboy Bebop, starting a Deltarune Let's Play today. Very busy Friday. So, no disappointments here. Lugia, you've been hiding in the shadows. I appreciate that. Thanks for the lurk. And the 10 stream streak. It's folks like you guys that keep the channel going. So thank you very much. All right. Let's pop over to Endless Nightmare to start us off. There won't be any... I'm off center, by the way. There won't be any... integration with my little... thing that usually pops up down here, so we're just gonna have to ride the wave. All right, let's do it. Hi Riley, how are you? Black Soul, how you doing? What's up, Harkin? Thank you. This is Endless Nightmare. That's a fun little... That's a really interesting gesture of oh shoot. That's fun. You hear that like sliding just... Now that's a good morning. That was a good morning. I am now awake. All right, we're going to check out the... oh, and Hydro, thank you. We know about Lord Crom, but what about Lord Marco? Well, there is no Lord Marco in Fire Emblem because the name is too Italian, of course. All right, now we're checking out the opening scene Oh. I didn't expect it to be samurai coded. Kind of. It's a little quiet. Well, so they really went for a dark aesthetic here. Oh, a golem? Wait. This is the fucking... This is you oh my god. In Italy, you put your hand in the mouth. Shoot. In Italy, oh my god, I forget the name of this. This, as a child, you see these things. You put your hand in the mouth, and it's supposed to like bring good luck or whatever. I forget what the details are, but this is in Italy. This is like an Italian symbol. Huh. What is this face? Hold on now. I gotta know. All right, hold on. What is this? Sorry, give me a second, guys. This is actually like important to me only. Okay, so... Oh yeah, the mouth of truth. La bocca della verità. It shares characteristics with vintage bronze reproductions of this classical Roman face. La bocca della verità... Yeah, looks just like this. Boop. Identical. Same angle. Huh, okay. What was the purpose of the Bocca di Verità, though? Della Verità, though? Bocca della Verità. Ancient Roman marble disc carved into human-like face dating back around 1st century AD. Historians believe it was originally used as a decorative drain or a manhole cover. According to famous medieval folklore, the mouth serves as a lie detector. If a person places their hand inside the mouth and tells a lie, the stone face will bite it off. Oh, shit. So it's Celtic versus Samurai. Oh yes, I know this. This is... Oh god. This is the water dance. Was this for 3DS? Got ourselves a little Fire Emblem theme there. Nice, 3DS. Or no, it wasn't. That's not the Fire Emblem theme. Da-dee-da. I like how it really strives to be a dark story. Like it's there's not a lot of like happiness in that. There's a lot of darkness in it, you know. Hey, Mello.
You are the ocean's gray waves, destined to seek life beyond the shore, just out of reach. Yet the waters ever change, flowing like time. The
Damn.
path
It's a very,
is yours to climb.
very deep pond.
Dorian General, you face the High Prince of Hoshido, Ryoma. I challenge you to single combat. I will accept your challenge, High Prince. But I'm no general. I am Crown Prince Sander of North!
Damn, Dark Blade? Okay. Hey, Angel Heart, how are you? Ooh. Sick. Yeah, so the serious aesthetic there is really interesting. You know, it's interesting how it's a mixture of fantastical, but like that dark quality that is fun in certain fantasy where it really feels like desperate. And I actually kind of really like the vibes of that. All right, so the next track we're listening to is Abundance Solace. I appreciate the sort of bounding quality like that in the strings. Bum, bim, bum, bim, bum, bim, bum, 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 bum. Very like pit staccato and very short and tight. It feels if it's a main hub theme, it's very bustling and busy. There's like a lot going on, you know. It has the flow of a very active environment, an active scene. But it's also like a tiny bit quirky because of some of the lower stuff. And then there's that motif. Ba, 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 ba. And there it is too. Ba, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. It's interesting how the bassoon gets the melody as to where it is in the mix because the strings are front and center. But then underneath it's the undercurrent of the melody, which is kind of interesting. So it's almost like, since there's a lot of water themes in this, it almost feels like this is the surface of the water, and then underneath it, where the motif is, that's where the meat of this is. This is really interesting. Almost like under the surface is where that motivic idea lies. But there's still, it's interesting how we can produce brightness with pizzicato and a tight musical gesture there, which, you know, it's really interesting to me how we can elicit that sound. All right, for Far Dawn. Also, if I don't really make a lot of sense, or if I'm a little tired, I got up at 4 and I couldn't go back to sleep, and then I went to the gym at like 5:30. So if you notice I'm a little bit like droopy, it's not because I'm bored. It's just because I'm just a little bit sleep deprived this morning. So, all right, Far Dawn. I wonder what this flute is. There's the theme again, of course. Ba 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 ba. Nice have unison movement there. Whew, Yarnum, that sucks. Hi, Ollie. Do you hear that sense of poise in that? There's a sense of poise, of elegance in this. So there's a quality of vastness to it, I think, because of how many like sort of instruments are doubled and used here. But also, there's an interesting blend here of elegance and poise, but also like danger and action. Because it's very subtle, because here now it pulls back and it changes, and so it's like sort of talking to itself. Like the strings there are very elegant, but then you get the really wonderful, that very Japanese sound with the flute there, which kind of airs it on a side of danger. So that's Far Dawn, and then we'll go into Storm version, which is obviously the battle version. So a shift with extra brass and percussion. A slightly faster tempo. That's nice. A lot of unison movement, yeah? Shut-da-da-da, shut-da-da-da. Obviously, we get that rhythm in there. It's really exciting. Boom, dum, da-ka-da-dum. I like this sound a lot. This sound is really interesting. I really like how pronounced the percussion is in this section, especially because boom, da da da, room, da da da. I guess those are triplets, or so there's a real like come and get it attitude there that I kind of feel. Well, it's still interesting because the elegance in the flute and stuff is still very it has a free flow to it that feels very like sort of the opposite of this. So it feels very unmetronomic, feels very loose, very almost improvised, like whatever you feel kind of come through your soul and out of the flute. Whereas here, it's interesting. Right? Well, it's certainly like a march. Yeah, that goes without saying. Yeah, it's interesting because it doesn't feel like super dire. Of course, it doesn't feel like the. I mean, it's probably like it's also the first battle theme we've listened to, so there's not a quality in it necessarily of like imminent destruction, but more so just like, well, we have to show up and take care of the stuff. You know what I mean? So it feels very metronomic. So all of it's kind of like very straightforward. It's not quite desperate or like a deeply traumatic thing. So it's interesting though to hear Far Dawn and then hear Far Dawn Storm and the difference. What's this hat? It's a Kakariko Village, like a faux like a faux hat that you would wear for like a company or something. And then over here there's a cuckoo. All right, Past Light. And then Past Light. See, there's a lot of still a lot of doubling. Okay. So that motif is being passed around a whole bunch. It's nice. It feels like a jungle area, you know. I don't know. It's got a real luscious sound to it. Kind of. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about that one. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. But it feels more like a place of tradition or like a jungle sanctuary or something. And then we'll pop over to the Storm version, of course, which is the combat version. Yeah. The extra strings down there are pretty cool. Just a lot of doubling to add emphasis. That's a nice melody. Yeah, you know, for a storm theme, that's pretty low key. Like, there's some movement in it, of course, but it's not like a very sharp contrast. Not that it needs to be, right? But like, it's sort of interesting how we have the one theme, the past life basic one, which is just like sort of, you know, milling about, and there's certain relaxedness about it. And then into this one, which normally would feature more drums, which actually I'm glad it didn't, because this one leaned into more of the strings. I'm not going to say it was like particularly compelling, or that like I was like really needing to pay attention to that one. I kind of zoned out after a little while, to be honest. But I do like it. I do like it. Good morning. I find it interesting you said this theme gave the impression of a jungle, because as far as I know, the sounds are more reminiscent of Japanese court or temple music. It can be anything. That's the beauty of music interpretation. Who knows? Unless you know the context, which is probably, you know, I guess the law. It doesn't. I don't think it necessarily matters. But that's interesting. I have no clue. I'm just talking. Justice. Huh? Justice R.I.P. So this one sounds more to me like a court, or because it's more measured, it's more buttoned up. So this to me feels much more in line with, like, you know, a place of regularity, you know, a place of law, like moving, a place of stability, a place of forthrightness, a place of measuredness, you know. Also, it's interesting because
reaction channels where,
fuck,
you
I
know,
didn't click on
maybe
that.
they started subscribing.
I clicked on. Sorry. I also think that here we also have this sort of, it's not somber per se, but it's kind of heavy laden, as if to say, like, if you cross me, you will receive a severe punishment. You know what I mean? So there's a degree of I want to say tenacity, I think, you know. I suppose dutiful would be. Yeah. But all of it still feels very... Huh. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of elegance within it for sure. It's not all just like measured and like all about justice and legality and like, you know, the rule of the land. But there's also this kind of a little bit of the emotion seeps through. So even though we're like cold, we also, especially when we get the strings in the back half, it's almost as if it's like, as if to say like, I can't. You know, it's my duty, right? Honor bound is a good way to say that for sure. Yeah. Okay, and then Justice, R.I.P. Justice. I'll be stopping and starting a few times during this. This is the Storm version, of course. Yeah, so this is interesting to me because I think, once again, measured. Like, it's a faster tempo, there's percussion, but it hasn't really deviated away from everything we just heard. So there's this quality in it of like, I don't want to say seeing something through, but emotionally what I find interesting is that because we get the added percussion, it just feels like it's dialed up slightly, which is the whole point, right? But it also feels like it's the kind of thing where it's like, if we're fighting, this music represents a character or represents an emotion of poise, of, I mean, you know, it doesn't change that much, and I think like that's interesting to me because it's not a big emotional swing. It's actually a pretty subtle emotional swing. So we're really only dialing up. This is a character, let's say, or a place or whatever, that isn't easily swayed or isn't easily manipulated by the circumstances around it. And so there's a lot of confidence in that. There's a lot of boldness in that. And also too, there's a lot of like stability in that because it hasn't changed so sharply where we, you know, want to, it doesn't pull us along, you know? It keeps us, we're very, very stout. We're like an anchor in the water or a reed that does not bend. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stability in this, even though there's a more momentum. Yeah, it's actually interesting because this back half actually dials it up. It's kind of cool because, like, right in here. So it's not a character that's insensitive. That melody, right? So that melody is actually full of emotion to me. It's full of like, it's interesting. I saw regret in there, but to me, it's also like, look, man, I mean, I got to follow a certain protocol. Like I have a responsibility. My hands are tied. You know, I don't necessarily want to do this, but like, what other choice do I have? That's the feeling that comes over me there. That is really cool. Because again, it's measured, it's poised, it takes action, it will take action, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be happy to take that action. You know what I mean? Ollie, there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in music. I want to reiterate that as plainly as possible. There is no right or wrong. Now there is the truth of the context and the non-truth of the context, sure. But when it comes to talking about music, it's all about personal interpretation. It's all about how you feel it. What's up, Magoos? And I want to reiterate that like, yes, there's plenty of things that are accurate or inaccurate or more in line with what's actually happening in the game, so on and so forth, right? But when we're taking music out of context, our only job is to listen to the music for its own sake. And whatever we feel and whatever we interpret and whatever sticks out to us, that is the thing that matters more so than whether or not it's accurate or correct to the game. I'm not going to lie. And that's a hard stance that I take. Not everyone believes in that stance. Not everyone agrees with that stance. And that doesn't matter because they're wrong. Just kidding. But I do think that, like, for me, that helps me because I don't like it when people say, well, that's wrong or that's right, or you may be right or you may be wrong. It's like, well, I'm not wrong or I'm not right. I just am. I just exist in it because music is music. Like we don't get hung up on like, we shouldn't get hung up on this or that when it comes to music because music is ultimately shades of gray and good composers write in a way that allows us to have flexibility in our interpretations, right? Especially when we're listening to it in a vacuum. So I think that's really important personally, but I know that not everybody agrees with that. Okay. All right. A light. That's a very different sound. I like how soft this is and how dialed back it is. I like that. That's so nice. I like the lilt in that piece. It feels like it really kind of moves. Again, I see like, you know, I see like wheat fields and freaking, I know it sounds really odd, but I see smiles. I see like, I don't know. I feel a sense of like a commitment to friendship and commitment to people, and like a, I think this area is really dominated by honor and dominant. Well, of course it's, you know, Bushido, if you will. You know, there's a real elegance in it, but it's got that quality where it just feels old. And so it feels measured, and it feels expansive because of its history. You know what I mean? Which is nice, music may have a goal or intent, but if it makes you feel something, then it ultimately did its job. I doubt any musician would be upset at what you felt listening, as long as you 1000%, Reek Natter, 1000%. Not only that, but music usually always does have the goal or intent to make you feel something. That is, I think, its goal, personally. You know, music is interesting because it tries to explain, explore, transmit a feeling or a sensation without any real words. You know what we call that? The subtext. Music usually is the stuff that's underneath the words. Music is usually the stuff in between the words. It's the stuff that is immeasurable. There are no amount of words that can describe a feeling that music may make you feel. Right? If we really think about it that way, we use vocabulary. We have vocabulary. We learn vocabulary so that we can express ourselves through words. But music is interesting. Hey, Rosa, how are you? Thank you for the raid. Music is interesting because music exists within the blurry lines that the words simply cannot deliver, because words are words and music is feeling. So we create language in order to articulate ourselves and in order to express ourselves, but music takes those words and I think amplifies them times 10, because it's a purer version of self-expression. It's a purer version of connection. It's a more direct way, I think, to think of the shades of gray that words often cannot get us to. And we live in a society that is very interesting, because we live in a society where all of you guys right now are chatting to me on the internet. And I'm so sorry, one tiny second. Sorry, just got a message. Sorry. Oh, cool. Okay. All right. I'll circle back. Sorry about that. Anyway, I think that that's pretty interesting. Let me see what she said. Music is like a time capsule. Those that really stick with you will be it by lyrics or themes themselves will always bring you back to that moment they marked for you. Whatever that moment may be. Personally, I don't really connect to music and listen to it and think of something that I saw in a game. So like when I listen to Engage the Enemy from Xenoblade Chronicles, I don't think to myself, oh man, that scene when Shulk was pronouncing this, that, or the other to the team. Like I don't really think about that. What I hear is the emotion that Engage the Enemy produces within me that may correlate to a scene. But moreover, it's actually my own lived experience. You tell me music has layers and depth? That's crazy. I know. Imagine. I know. Speaking as someone who has more of a writer, I have a lot of respect for music. It is hard to communicate exactly what we think in our minds to the people around us, but music feels closer. I agree. Do you think that by living in language so much, it influenced our way of making music? No, because I think at the end of the day, like emotion supersedes language. And so I think that you can, no, I think music, first of all, music is its own sort of music has its own way of expressing that is, I think, under the surface and a different kind of a language or a communicative experience. So I think there's more ways to connect via the complexity of music and the shades of gray, black and white, that the shades of gray that isn't black and white that I think words sometimes get us stuck into. So if I say happy is a weird word because it's like, okay, well, there's happy, there's joyful, there's, elated. These are all sort of different ways to express happy. And what does happy mean? But if I play you a piece that is happy, more than likely, whatever, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's like, do I make sense? Like there's a depth that, it's so hard to articulate these this is complicated. I know it's obvious to you guys because you're educated, but like we're talking subtlety here. Like we're not talking like, when I think the word happy, there's really few ways to interpret happy. Happiness is happiness. Maybe. Again, I could be wrong. But then when we consider music, happiness can have 1,000 different degrees within itself, right? So if I play you a happy song, you may interpret that happiness and what that feels like in a totally different, in a multitude of ways that'll be separate from me. Emotion and feelings and experiences can be universal in a dramatically different way than language. Yeah. Emotion is universal. Sad is sad and happy is happy, whether you are from Greece or China. Music speaks directly. Poetry I think is closer as well. You can convey emotions by styling the music. Music can evoke emotions or the feelings. Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's the most interesting part to me. And this is why I enjoy not getting stuck in on theory or chord structure or this, that, or the other, because I think that what's more interesting to me is the subtle nuance that we experience when we listen to music based on our emotions and our connection to it. Right? Like, I think that's infinitely more interesting to me than whether or not it's a G major seventh or a D major chord or the key is A major or whatever the key is, obviously rhythmically, if things are short, if it's eighth notes, if it's what does a triplet do to a piece of music that then changes the mood of it? 1000%. I mean, like those things are important. But I think what's more interesting to me is how those things produce a sense and produce a feeling and allow us to more deeply understand, the but there's, I mean, there's room for both. You know what I mean? Like theorists are important. Theory is important. But I don't necessarily even think that a lot of composers necessarily even think about that. In fact, I had my interview with Yuka Kitamura. She goes, I watch these videos where people break down what I'm doing, and she goes, I didn't even know I did that. Which is hilarious, because here's the composer. They're not necessarily thinking about it because they already have the intrinsic tools, because they have experience, because they have the study, right? So she's not thinking, necessarily. So she'll watch a video. She literally said this you'll see it when the video comes out, but she literally said, wow, I didn't know that. Which was validating to me, because we get really hung up on like theory and like this chord does this and this does this. Whereas sometimes these composers are just writing from feel, because they already have the tools and strategies in place. It's sort of autopilot for them. They just like, okay, let me pop this out, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting. Anyway, long story short, that piece was nice. All right, A Light Storm. All right, man, you tell me, chat. What do you think when you hear that? Bum bum bim bum ba da dum ba da ba dum bum bim bum be da dum ba da ba dum bum bim bum be da dum ba da ba dum bum be da da. That to me is like facing a conflict head on with a smile. Like, oh, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? There's an excitement in it. There's exuberance. There's a feeling of like being elated to get into it. You know what I mean? It's focused. Bum bum bim bum be da. I hear a little bit of happiness, right? For me, music captures the transition between emotions and shifting from one to the other, where words lack in doing so. Words are usually direct in moving from one to the next. Right. I agree. One of the best tracks in the game after that. I have the view that technique influences us a lot. Our feelings too. Obviously, there's a circle here, right? Feelings and motivate creating techniques. Yes, they're a circle. I agree. I hear reunion. Interesting. I think some fills me with the most hype. I think this song fills me with the most hype. Wow, cool. The feeling of doing what you've been training for. Energetic resilience. First tangent of the day done. Yeah, right. Beach music. Whatever. For all I know, if this is the music that you hear when you go to the bathroom to take a poop, that context is right. You know what I mean? I've heard this. This is really nice. Okay, I want to talk about this because it shifts. Hold on. You hear how this is all elongated? So right there, we have this wonderful little transition from those sustained. No, we always have that momentum in the rhythm. That doesn't change. But what does change is we have a sudden shift here. And I like to point these things out because I find shifts like this very interesting. And I find it very compelling because otherwise it gets pretty boring, right? So like, why does it shift? Well, we downshift. Or we change gears. Downshifting would be the opposite. We change gears. We go from second to third, from third to fourth probably, right? Maybe even fourth to fifth. And what does that do? Well, it's a little bit of a zhuzh, right? It's a little bit of it's a little bit like, hey, fix your posture, you know? Hey, let's go. So it dials it up slightly. It's not aggressively so, but it's enough to be like, okay, kick it in. Let's go. Keep pushing. Drive, you know? Commit to the bit. Stay focused. There's an enthusiasm behind it. It's not so brutal. It's not so commanding. It's not domineering. But it does say, hey, get it going, right? And I really like that. And you can also hear it in the transition, right? Very subtle. Right there. I mean, 1 second shift, right? Listen again, chat. Right there. You hear that shift? Listen, we'll rewind a little bit further back. Just listen. Yeah. Pretty cool, right? So you have the whole orchestra and the strings going, and then you got the flute, which is really like the key teller. But the whole instrument goes, right? It pushes, it gives it a little push, right? You hear there's actually a swell in the strings, and then we push forward, right? We lurch into a new area. Love that, man. That's so exciting. Nice, another little transition there too, which just kind of resets us. See, it doesn't go up. So it doesn't go up. So it actually cuts it at the knees. It's like a bump ba bump ba da 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 bump ba bump bump ba dum boom as it pumps it. Right? I love this rhythm so much. It's amazing. That's delightful. I mean, what a great piece. Probably the highlight of the OST. Dusk Falls. Ooh, that's nice. I've heard this too, I believe. I actually really appreciate how it has a lot of momentum and movement, but it's actually pretty chill. That's lovely. Oh my God. And then let's go to the Fire version. Dusk Falls Fire. Yeah, I mean, so it does the classic thing where it increases in rhythmic intensity and propulsion, and there's a bit of a bigger hit there. And also, what's interesting there is that we also have a fuller, more rich quality to it, of course. So there's a sharpness, right? So da dum ding da dum dum da dum dum da dum dum. So there's a little bit more of a subdivision, or a little bit more of a stronger rhythmic identity because of the battle focus here. So it kind of pulls away from the sort of lack. The previous Dusk Falls has momentum, but it's a little bit more lackadaisical. So it's a little bit more relaxed, right? But obviously this is more pressed. It's more forward intended. It's more punchy. It's more active, and I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah, see that. I'm always really interested by stuff like this. Listen to this, chat. Isn't this interesting? Listen to this. This is pretty cool. So when we go here, I love just little details here. What's fun is that all of a sudden here we have this pivot. And when I say pivot, what I mean to say is that like we're doing our thing, right? Over and over and over and over. I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm just saying that's what it does. But then listen to this. Now it's interesting because when we get a harmony, I call them counter melodies. It's just harmony. But you have the strings doing their thing, and the strings are actually above the main thrust. And it's interesting. The reason why I call them counter melodies, even though it's really just harmony, like I already just said, is because what ends up happening is that the violin harmony takes over, but instead of usually we get harmony underneath, we kind of get like I kind of view like lower harmonies as shadowing on words. You ever see text and it's white, and you add a little bit of, basic graphic design, you add a little bit of a shadow, and then the thing kind of pops out, right? That to me is a lower harmony. Usually it's like a double, but it's it's like a third or a fourth or whatever the notes are. In this case, it's interesting because we have the harmony, we have the melody, right? That's what we have. So technically that's a melody. But then listen to the strings. The strings, the upper strings. You hear it right up top? And then a key change. So what I would say is, so I hadn't heard the whole thing. So it doesn't actually take this. The strings are actually like the truest sense of a harmony up top. But it's interesting to hear the harmony come from the upper register rather than the lower register. You know what I mean? I think that's pretty cool. Hey, Dual Blades, thanks. Loudboy says, hi, sad. Stellar Blade Blood Rain gets official music video with AI. Well, game fan react to it. Slap to artist. You're saying, yes. If you're saying what I'm saying, I agree. Nope, not good. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. And I don't like it not because I'm anti-AI. I don't like it because I don't think that games, other than basic coding or things to assist in the process, I do not think that there should be any AI when it comes to the creation of the artistry, whether it's the music, the gameplay, the sound design, the visuals, and the art design. Those things should be and remain human, because those are the things that are the thing that we interact with. And there's two schools, I think, in the world. There's the consumption school and there's the artistry school. And I think those two things are a total different perspective on it. Some people don't care. Some people just want to consume, to eat. That's what No Face is in Spirited Away. Consume, consume, consume. And that's fine. Not everybody has to think deeply. Not everybody needs to be, super, they don't have, not a lot of people don't care. And that's true. A lot of people don't care. But if you're asking me, I view most games, even Call of Duty, not the most recent one, but I will even argue that there is artistry within those games, all games. Not the last Call of Duty because they use AI a shit ton. When you take away the human element of artistry and expression and the story you are trying to tell, I think much less of your product. Because it is a product that is meant to make money, right? But also, it is usually a work of art, ideally. And I feel very strongly that I just judge your product way more harshly if you use AI in the artistic elements of it. I'm really okay with using, maybe not so much vibe coding per se, but I'm okay with look, my wife works in tech. We're around AI all the time in this household. You know what I mean? It's like her work, they're encouraged to use AI. And so inevitably the AI conversation comes up in my household. So I'm not going to sit here and just be like, well, fuck all AI. Now, I understand the problems to the environment, the water, data center, all that. I'm there. I understand it. But yeah, no, I certainly think it's pretty lame to, especially because, like, I don't know, dude. Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is so stupid. I mean, like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, Stellar Blade, the first game, is so good. Musically, it's incredible. I think it's a great little game. I think it's like a beautiful 7 out of 10. It's super polished. It's really fun to play. The music is astronomically good. Astronomically good. But everyone ever thinks about Stellar Blade is tits and ass. And maybe that's intentional from the team. Maybe that's the conversation they wanted it to have. Maybe they enjoy that conversation. That's fine. But, ideally we would maybe pull away from, more discourse that is not about the game itself. And I find that annoying. So if there is actual AI that's Gen AI in that Stellar Blade sequel, I'm done. I have no interest. And that video on Twitter of Evie singing that thing is so dumb. But whatever. Some people will never agree with me on that. So, live your life. I don't particularly care if you agree or disagree. I'm just stating what I think. I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, no, I agree. I do think it's derivative. And it's not even to say that it look, that video, it looks polished. Now it still looks like shit because you can tell it's AI, but like it's very clean. But I can't watch that and be like, wow, what an amazing thing. Amazing thing. What? I don't buy it. Thanks, Hydro. And then here, what's interesting is that here, thanks, Hydro. What I would also add, just really quickly before I mention what I wanted to say here, is that it's like, well, I forgot what I was going to say. It's irrelevant. I don't care. Oh, nope, doesn't matter. It's just dumb. Is really what it comes down to. You like how here, right where we pick up on Dust Falls here, we have this, this is much more pronounced, and rhythmically it's a lot stronger, you know? Bum dum da dum dum da dum dum da dum dum da dum. So it's as if to say, in the final push, we are locking in and we're committing to and moving through an action, and I like how it gets sharper here and more pronounced. There's a little bit of desperation in there, but it's not. It's more like kind of just aggression and preparation. I would say that obviously there's a cultural divide too with some of this conversation we have with AI, because especially in Asian cultures, in Korea, I know that they use AI quite a bit. So you know, for what it's worth, I think that there's inevitably like some sort of a complication there, where I think culturally there's more acceptance of the use of AI in China and in Korea, and I don't know how Japan is, but you know, is AI inevitable? I think partially yes. I don't think AI is going anywhere. I just think that it needs to be in it where it needs to be, and then the rest of it needs to be like separate. You know what I mean? Like we need to silo and section off where we use it or don't use it or whatever. Like I just think it, for me personally, it shouldn't be in anything relating to art, and whatever that means to you is fine. But I've had people argue with me that like a good prompt is artistic because it requires effort to learn how to make a good prompt. But it takes a lot of effort to pick up a pen and write a fucking sentence. I mean, like, I don't really buy the argument of like, yes, fine, you can master a prompt so that it's even more efficient. Okay. But like all that time spent on mastering a prompt could also be like used to like sit down at a piano for 20 minutes. So it's all, I mean, like, it's just a silly. Anyway. It takes effort to learn to write a good... Right. So in the amount of time that it takes you to learn how to write a good letter, a prompt to get the AI to write an email to your boss, that sounds like you could literally figure out how to write a good email to your boss. You could even ask AI for suggestions for how to write a good email. That would even be okay with me. All right, Gemini, how do I write a good email? What are the structures that I should consider? Okay, that still gives me ownership over the way that I present my email to my boss. But at least it's coming from me versus like, hey, I have this. Please synthesize all of this information and write a 500 word. It's like, bro, by the time you did all that, if you just maintained your sense of agency, you could do it yourself. This is so strange. Anyway, Look what you did. I think there was a period of my life where I would have been a little bit more hesitant to so blatantly share my opinion about certain things. But I really feel strongly that, like, people should have nuance in their day-to-day and be willing to see errors or be willing to admit wrong or whatever. But I also believe that people should also be aware of what they say and be humble enough to recognize that they don't know everything, but also that they should be strong and celebrate their own opinions, because opinions should be celebrated, especially if you're not hurting somebody, right? Like we shouldn't be so humble that we are willing to concede to everything, but we also need to be strong enough to recognize that the things that we hold important is worth defending. Not in an asshole kind of way, but at least in like a way that's like, well, I don't really agree with that because this, and this, and this. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes we spend more time trying to not come off as rude or disrespectful, so that then we end up getting treated rudely and disrespectfully. And I think over time in this particular career, being in front of people where, you know, there's a lot of agitation sometimes that's thrown in my way or creator space. And this happens, you know, in any food service or customer service. I mean, this isn't just any customer service job has to deal with people that are unregulated and don't self-regulate. This is a normal part of everyday life for so many people. You know, but there's boundaries, and those are important. And I think over time, you know, in this particular position, I have learned to protect my own boundaries and protect my own opinions, and also celebrate those opinions, because those opinions are valid, just like anybody else's opinion is valid. But sometimes people don't spend the time to consider that maybe they're incorrect or don't have all the facts or are wrong. And that's the kind of thing where you shouldn't tolerate it too much. Anyway. Okay, Dark Wastes. I don't want to get too sidetracked because it's a busy day, and I want to make sure that we get through all 34 tracks that we have here. So, all right, Dark Wastes. Ooh, okay, a winter. Okay, I see it. I think it's interesting that you hear the winter snow. Nice lilt to that, though, huh? Da-da-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-da-dee. Good luck, Yarnum. Oh, it plays another. Okay. It is a little mysterious based on what he's saying right there. The darkness is seething. This guy's played a little Kingdom Hearts. It's an interesting little piece, isn't it? Oops, sorry. Pushed the wrong button on my stream. Pushed the wrong button on my stream deck. It's an interesting piece, right? Because it has a little bit of bite. Bum ba da da bee ba ba bee ba ba dee da 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 dee da dee. Not that we haven't heard that theme before, but the way that it kind of lilts is really interesting. Let's listen to the fire version. I do like the instrumentation there. Yeah, that's cool. So it has a thum thum daga dum dum daga dun dun daga daga da daga da dun dun daga da. So what that does is I think it's interesting because it's sort of scrappy. Now, obviously, I'm looking at this picture, so of course I'm deriving some of my thought process from this picture. But you notice how like it's heavy, but you know what I picture? I picture and I think about bum bum daga dum dum. Those feel like large tunnels. It feels like you could drive through those, right? Thum thum. So it has this kind of smoothness that moves through these large beats, and I think like it's a little squirmy, even though it's heavy at the same time. Do I make sense, chat? Do you hear what I mean? And again, I mean, I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt here, but I think that that's kind of interesting. Thum thum thika thaka da 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 din thum da da, right? Like it's a little bit like putty almost. It's interesting. What's up, Andy? That's cool. Da 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 dee dee dum da dee da da da. Interesting isolation there of just the percussion, or just the trumpets, rather. It's very measured, isn't it? It's interesting. It's very measured. And I like how we kind of get this like harpsichordy sound. That feels very educated, if that makes sense. Very like scholarly. I don't know. It's interesting. Okay. I'll probably do a little bit less talking here, but let's crash through some more tracks. So next up is, hold on one tiny second. I just want to check. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, let's go to No Justice. I love hearing harpsichord, man. You only hear harpsichord in such specific circumstances. Ooh. like that. You know, it's kind of subtle. It's kind of subtle. It's interesting. A track called No Justice that like feels very I don't know, like it's obviously it's poised. The harpsichord is a pretty sharp sounding instrument. So as we move through it, there's a lot of like, it's very measured. And yet it has this like free form to it that's really beautiful. But let's pivot over to the fire version. I want to hear how that's different. So different. But it still has really can't change the key. So it still has that poise, which is really interesting. So it still derives a sense of presence and like kind of forceful will, but also I do think No Justice itself is a little bit better, and personally I think A Light is still the best of the tracks that we've listened to so far. Okay, cool. Let's pivot over to A Dark Fall. Okay, yeah, so much more desperate, much more intense. That's nice. You see how cool that is? I love this corner right here because this is interesting. So obviously the sharp rhythm, it sounds like Rage Against the Machine kind of. But then when you move over here, listen to this. So you get the flute, you get the what feels like maybe a hurdy-gurdy. You get heart movement in there as well. So it feels it feels like there's a lot of space in that. And there's that motif in there, of course. Ooh, that sounds good. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's so cool. So adding the chorus is really interesting to me because it gives a total sense of of distress. And so adding the chorus is the moment that things kind of become really, really, really dire. You know, we enter into this new domain of distress. You know, this new domain of like, I don't know what is happening, but like we're at our wits' end. How are we supposed to navigate this? How are we supposed to figure this out? That, and the other. And also it's like almost like there's a betrayal, right? It's really beautiful. All right, but here's the fire version. Okay, so it just dials up slightly. You know what? It's interesting. It's actually pretty slow and methodical. And so as this continues to move, we have this beautiful horn section here that, again, leading into that sound of like not knowing where to turn and not knowing what's going on and having this real feeling of like it's all over, coupled then with this it's just slow moving. Like the tempo is pretty slow, especially considering it's a battle theme, right? So like there's a deeper sense of like falling into the well with this particular sound quality. I love the repetition in that. That's interesting to me because that's really pointed, right? Like that gesture, that's really saying like this is the end, right? We're collapsing in on ourselves. We're falling. I like that. Da 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 da, sha da 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 da, ding dun 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 da 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 da. Really a nice track. Really beautiful. All right, track number 20 is Far Away. This is the real evil. It's an interesting instrumental choice because you have all the heavy da 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 dee da dee da dee da dee da. Hey Carbonic, what's up? Oh, you're ordering this hat? You're ordering this hat? That's awesome. What's up, John? I'm enjoying it, yeah. It's a really interesting sound, you know, because so it has a snake-like quality, right? Because of the way it's going up and down in the scale. So it ends up feeling like it's sorry, it's getting dark, so it has this kind of flowing sound. And what that means to me is like it's snaking, it's scheming, it's dangerous, it's vile, it's treacherous. I'm also looking at an old man, right, with this black outfit, very ornate king-like qualities. And that's all to say like that's like it's consumptive. You know what I mean? Which is really cool. It's very dangerous. All right, this is the past below. Huh? Okay. As if it's gonna eat you. Yeah, no, not on. I'm looking at a whole playlist here that was organized for me by Hydro. So I'm just following whatever the pattern is. Endgame will probably be part 2 in August. I enjoy how this is hopeful. This has a quality of hopefulness in it. I can see contemplative because it's slow. To me, it really feels like it's percolating. You know, it's like a low simmer as we try to like navigate the next steps. So it feels like the kind of music that you would play like in a pre-battle or in a assessment phase. You know. But I appreciate the slight electronic sounds in there too. Bum, bum, bing. It's cool. Oh, this is the planning prep montage. Well, there you go. I like those little accents too. Bum, 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 bum. There was a question earlier about whether or not I'll be playing Fortune's Weave, and frankly, I don't believe so. What my plan is to stream it for a day, just to like get a sense of it, and then if I choose to play it, I will. But it's unlikely. It's unlikely that it'll be like a commitment stream for me. I can't imagine. I honestly, I've tried a bunch of Fire Emblems, and I do like Fire Emblem Awakening quite a bit on my 3DS. But the chances of actually ever like playing one to completion, other than the first path that I did for 3 houses, is pretty small. It's just not a gameplay style that I really like, which is too bad. I do appreciate them for what they are, but doesn't really do it for me. Tactics gameplay is like right there at the bottom of my list with survival games in terms of what I like to play. I mean, look, I'll try any game, to be honest. Like, there's not a single game I won't try. I'm like constantly buying Steam games just because I'm like, ooh, that might be fun to try. And it doesn't really matter what the genre is. But it's pretty hard to say that I would actually play a tactics game from start to finish. I just get bored. All right, so this is the flow version. So interesting syncopation. There's also a bit of this feeling of rushing and propulsion, which is really interesting. Yeah, we'll definitely be doing music. Something Final Fantasy Tactics. Not for me. Yeah. Oh, interesting waltz shift there. That's just probably interplay. Ooh. That's dope, actually. Nice. Nice. Land Below. Okay, so this is like lurking in the shadows. It's really one of those things where you're like, it's not so much that you're watching your back so much as you're like contemplating, like you're just seeing a conversation that you shouldn't be seeing. And there's this feeling of like betrayal, right? Like this is not what should have happened. This should not have occurred. Like what is that? It's duplicity, you know? It's interesting. There's definitely a lurking in the dark feeling. Absolutely, 1000%. I'm actually really curious to hear the flow theme of this. Yeah. So I mean, you know, look, take it or leave it, but sometimes the active battle sequences, the active sound, it's really just like dialing it up slightly. It's an interesting use of dynamic music, isn't it? Because we have the one version, which is very it is what it is. And then we have the second version, which is almost always more intense. But usually that would mean a dialing of the knob in terms of percussion and in terms of scaling the sound. So it sounds, so, you know, if the first one is like this, the second one is like this, right? And it's an interesting thing about Fire Emblem, because it doesn't, listening to it out of context doesn't do it favors. So that I recognize that, of course. But it's interesting, you know, it's an interesting choice. I actually love the lower brass. Also, the synthetic thing is interesting too. And like a modern So even though it scales, it's actually it is unsettling. I agree. I think the reason why is because it doesn't necessarily move. It doesn't increase in speed, and it's very boom ba 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 bum boom ba 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 bum ba ba beep ba ba bum ba ba beep ba ba bum ba ba. So it feels like there is no escape because of that rhythmic identity. That rhythmic idea, boom beep ba ba bum boom boom ba ba bum. It's not heroic. It's not stable, even though it is sort of metronomic. What it's doing is it's constricting. It's constricting through form, which is pretty interesting, I think. Cool. Yeah. All right. Glory Ruin. Not what I expected. Okay. See how it slides up? Has a little bit of a bite to it. Lord Marco. A lord? No. Nay, I say nay. So it's interesting because it's somewhat unpleasant to listen to, right? Hey, Graham, how's your on-site? Chat's been great. See, and then listen to that. So it's very interesting. Listen to the listen to lower strings. The piano's cool, and then the slide up. That low piano. This is devilish. It's very fiendish. That's great. Yeah. A sense of falling is super appropriate. It sounds like it's being squeezed, you know? Oh my god. Fucking downpouring again. Yesterday, someone drove into a light pole, electrical pole, and I was in the middle of filming a Cowboy Bebop episode, and the power went out, and then I was reminded that the mods told me to buy that thing that is right there, my backup UPS that I've never set up, and I could have avoided that whole problem had I just set it up, but I have to like unplug all my plugs and plug it into that and plug that into, so I've never done it, and I'm just sitting here like watching Cowboy Bebop, and I go, I literally have the backup UPS right here. So if the power goes out because it's torrential downpouring right now, we'll finish this on another day. But yeah, so someone drove through a pole yesterday, and the whole thing was like this. I called the gym and I go, hey, is the power on? Because I don't want to have to go work out in the dark. Anyway, Vanity Judge. Hey, Cliffa. They're like Cowboy Bebop. Although, if you, I don't know if you guys know Cowboy Bebop at all, but it was the episode with Pierrot, LeFou. And that episode is so my cup of tea. They really is true when they say that Cowboy Bebop has everything, something for everybody. Because that episode, there's been like 5 episodes that I've really loved in Cowboy Bebop. A lot of it I've kind of been neutral on. But I've always wanted to like keep watching because I never quite know what I'm going to get each episode, which is nice. I'm not crazy about like episodic things. I really like a through line personally. But this particular episode, I was like so locked in. So the fact that the power went out really pissed me off. That episode, My Funny Valentine is an amazing episode. The episode after that with Jet is amazing. Episode 6 is amazing. Anything with like Spike's old crew is amazing. The oboe is spelled with O-B-O-E. All right, let's go. Vanity Judge. Teddy Bomber, I don't know, so that must be later. It's probably in the back half of the... Yeah, it does make you anxious for Spike, 1000%. It'll be up on Patreon later today. I have to finish it after this. And then today I start my Deltarune Let's Play, which I'm really excited about too. So busy day. And then I'll be finishing Cowboy Bebop this weekend. Or today. Probably this weekend though. And then tomorrow we see Brand New Day. I'm a Spider-Man guy. And then next week I go back to JoJo Part 3. And I start Kill la Kill, which I'm really excited about. Got myself a little fan service. I have no idea what Kill la Kill is about, except for the fact that it's Sawano, so I'm very excited. In fact, this will be my first Sawano anime, because I have not watched Attack on Titan, because I read the manga, and I just don't have it in me to watch the anime, even though I know it's, like, great. But it's just altogether too depressing. Anyway, Vanity Judge. Yeah, I've heard it's peak. Nice oboes here. Did I say oboes? Nice horns here. Sorry. See, this is interesting, because this is more like, here we are. We're at fate's end. What do you choose to do with the time that you are given, right? Like, how do you find strength, right? And it's quiet, which is what the French horns represent. You know, it's very still, right? So the stillness, bro, do you fucking hear that right now? Listen to this shit. That's the rain. That's the rain. Anyway, continue. I like the snare too, because that's the militarism. Hello. Okay, Vanity Judge Roar will be interesting. Okay, interesting. So it's just a sped up. It's just sped up with a lot more percussion, of course. Take care. Be well. Enjoy work. So it's almost like all that desperation we heard in the previous track now is doubled down on, and it says, you know what? No, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm terrified, but I'm going to continue to push through. That's what that rhythmic momentum does. Some dissonance. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, knowledge. Again, sometimes I don't necessarily have things to say. It's just that it's touch and go. It just depends on the track, of course, and then also, you know, we're 28 tracks in, so a little bit of ear fatigue sets in. But I'm trying to, if something sticks out, I always try to do my best to make sure I mention it. Just wanted to give you a heads up and be transparent. All right, knowledge. How many tracks are left? Like 6. Not too bad. Hey Haru, how are you? Random piano, that's nice. Interesting shift there. Cool. That's kind of a playful, playful movement. Ba ba ra beep ba 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 ba. I want to hear what this. Okay, so what's this roar version? Again, up tempo. Yeah, of course. Nice that it goes up too. It's so heroic. It's fun. Cool. Edgelwonk? The fuck? Edgelwonk. Oh, knowledge backwards. The song is backwards? Okay. That's a cool effect. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's funny. What does that sound like? That's cool. But why though? It's so interesting. It's like rewinding time, but obviously, but it feels more like it's like gathering all your power into one specific spot almost. Wow, that's beautiful. Whoa, 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 whoa. Cool. That's audacious. You don't hear that very often. I mean, you hear it in like Breath of the Wild. No, or sorry, Tears of the Kingdom. Thorn in You. Now that's gorgeous. That's beautiful. Listen to this. I really love when the piano takes over here. It's really about like coming face to face with a circumstance, right? Note that it kind of grows here, but ultimately this is the moment. This is the moment that choices need to be made, right? And it's not good. Like it's bad. Like this is not a good situation. That's lovely. And that's a reflection on what was. Yeah, the live instruments. I was just thinking that. Yes, I agree. It's so pretty. Yada yada. That's so beautiful, my God. All right, wait, there's a roar version though? Interesting, that's a mixed meter. Very much like this is the only path forward. We will do what must be done. We will strive forward into the face of adversity, in the face of death, in the face of danger and tension and fear, and we will succeed or die trying, right? It's very, 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 very poignant. Love this rhythm, my God. Shut da dun ding dun ding dun dun dun. Beautiful piano there too. I like how that right there, that lick is so gorgeous. It's so optimistic and beautiful and positive. I really like this. Listen. Right? Beautiful. What a beautiful track. All right, Road Taken and then Road Taken Roar. So it's this assessment, you know. We process what has come. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, what a beautiful, warm. It sounds very modern. Like there's a modern quality to it of like it's almost like a pop song, but. Da 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 yeah da 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 da. Yeah, and then you have the guitar in there. It's really, really pretty. Hey, how are you, Bedell? Yeah, I know. It's been nice to listen to. I'm well. I hope you're well, too. Beautiful. I also appreciate how quiet it is, to be honest. Like, it's very dialed back. See, like I love the brightness in that because it's really like, okay, now what? What do we do now? You know? That's so pretty. That is beautiful. All right, and then of course we'll listen to the Roar version here. I think it's such a cool choice to use the drum set as because it feels like it's the moment where everything is decisive and everything is made clear, and this is the moment to commit, right? Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you, arigatou gozaimasu. Konnichiwa. I really appreciate this track because it's interesting that, you know, the drum set is such a modern sound. You really don't hear it in orchestras very often. And so this automatically has a little bit of like a boosted sound of like, oh, what do you mean? Right. So there's energy in that. And it's very, it's not passive at all. It's very bubbly. So like, see, even that, ba, 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 ba. That's such a nice hit. Ba, 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 ba. Right? It's very cool. Hey, what's up, just a guy? Oh yeah, I know. It's I love the horns too, but then also too, listen to the stuff underneath, you know? Enjoy your sleep. Rest well. I'm actually gonna prep a video for sleep. I saw there's a YouTuber who does videos. I play blah 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 blah, and to help you sleep, and it's like 3 hours of him like just playing Zoo Tycoon in a soft voice. I'm gonna do one for sleep video game songs. You better believe. How do you guys stay up till 3 and 5 a.m.? I woke up at 4 and I'm a zombie, but I got like at least 6.5, 7 hours. This track is interesting to me because it's very impassioned and bold, but it is also like, it's subtle. Like, it doesn't feel very loud, you know what I mean? Even though it is, you know? Pain, I get it. I really like this lick though. Doesn't that galvanize you? And even then, it's such a like a joyful, celebratory kind of you know what I mean? Like that to me is really, really, really like celebration, you know? It's got like a flair to it. It's free, you know? It's lovely. Oh my God. Yeah, I get it, guys. I mean, sleep is tough. I gotta be honest. Sleep is a difficult one. Sleep and hydration, water is a difficult one for me. I'm pretty good about like sticking with my calories and like, you know, going to the gym and stuff. just because I feel like I have to. And if I don't want to go in the morning, I have to go in the evening, because otherwise I just sit here and I feel so sloth-like that it really agitates me. So I at this stage in my life, well, I have a goal to get down 40 pounds before I'm 40. So I have about a year and 2 months. So that's my big, that's been my big motivator. It's just because I really want to lock in, get down to the weight I want to get down at, and then I'll be done for a little while and, maintain. 40 is a big birthday. So, I have a year and change. So I want to make sure that, ooh, that's kind of freaky. But yeah, so I don't feel 40. I don't even think I look 40, but my body, like yesterday I was doing leg press and I was like, ooh, there's my knee. Okay. My knee is full now. Nope. Can't do that today. So hopefully I don't get like shrimp legs, because I've been skipping certain parts of leg day. But I was like, nope. Certain things just like my body just doesn't, it's weird. I start to notice certain things where I'm like, anyway, yeah. So I gotta drink a lot more water. Mainly, it's a problem. Anyway, yeah, I would love this motif. Okay, I'm not 40 yet. I'm 38 years old. Really nice. Really nice. Really nice. I mean, that's a nice piece. I would say in general, like Fire Emblem tracks are interesting to me because when you listen to them in a vacuum like this, they kind of become a little bit homogenized, where they all kind of sound the same. That's not great. But that's okay, because I think it's important to listen to the music. I think like the quiet, loud, quiet, loud, quiet, loud, there's differentiators there, obviously, in each and every single one of these that works and enhances it. Now, I think that in general, most tracks that I hear in Fire Emblem are so best served by the gameplay. And I think because the gameplay is so methodical, the music then enhances that experience. I think listening to them in a vacuum like this is not typically the best experience or the optimal experience. So, take that for what it is. I really liked Road Taken. I really liked Thorn and You. I really liked Vanity Judge. I really liked A Dark Fall. I really liked, what was it? A Light. A Light was my favorite. I also really liked the Justice RIP Justice version. And of course I really liked Abundance Solace. So it's cool. I definitely enjoy listening to Fire Emblem. It's not my favorite IP. No stretch of the imagination for me there. I'm not really crazy about the IP, but there's a lot of stuff that I think really works out of context, but I think really works, of course, in the game itself. Yeah, I mean, focus in games is really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of that in Ace Combat. There are some standout tracks, like 8 to 15 tracks, I'd say, that are like incredible out of context. You can just put them on and just jam out to them. I typically do this at the gym, where and I really love. There's certain covers that I adore that just sound so good out of context. But a lot of Ace Combat tracks require the focus of the game itself, which is interesting. And I think Fire Emblem is similar because there's a need for that attention. So I think the rhythm in all of these tracks really complements these incredibly well. Regix, I'm gonna upload that video literally as soon as I'm done with this stream. So yes, Guild Wars 3 main theme. Of course, I was on that like white on rice. So no stress there. Give me an hour. That is literally the next thing I'm doing today. Yeah, totally. I mean, and imagine, honestly, like any of these tracks, you could put them on for work, and I think that they would serve unbelievably well. which is great. You know what I mean? And I think like there's a lot to enjoy here. Not my favorite stuff, but certainly not stuff that's like unpleasant to listen to. You know what I mean? And ultimately, that's going to do it for us for today and this whole week's streams. Thank you so much, guys, for popping by. If you want to, thank you, Hydro, for the request, of course. If you want to support the channel more directly, you can check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Marco Meatball. It does go to my team, and then whatever's left over goes to me, so it helps me kind of keep the train moving. If you're not a part of the Discord, though, and you want to check out the Discord and come hang out, talk to people, I don't know, find like-minded individuals maybe, or just have a place where you're getting notifications about what's next, that's the Discord. Exclamation point Discord, exclamation point Patreon. If you don't want to do any of those things, that's fine by me. Cowboy Bebop will be finished up this weekend over on Patreon. Monday we start 358-2 Kingdom Hearts. That'll take 2 days ish, maybe 3. Start Birth by Sleep after that. Yeah, it's a new month, August. Holy crap, can you believe it? It's crazy. Have an excellent weekend. I'm going to go see Spider-Man this weekend. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to play video games and be a potato. So that is what I'm going to do. You're welcome. That's funny. Just the guy. I appreciate that. I heard the film's good. I heard it's an amazing Spider-Man movie. So I'm very excited. I literally forgot about its existence because I have been so tapped out of Marvel now for a while. But anyway, yep. I'm going to go watch some Cowboy Bebop, start up Deltarune finally, and have a weekend. So the Snezhnaya live performance happened today. Ooh, that's right. Yes, I probably won't film that today, but I'll film that hopefully Monday when I have a little bit more energy. All right, guys, be well. See ya. I'm looking forward to it, yeah. Thank you, Flurry. I love Tank, yeah. See you guys.